बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम।
अल्लाहु अकबर, अल्लाहु अकबर, अल्लाहु अकबर, अल्लाहु अकबर। अशहदु अल्ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह, अशहदु अल्ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह, अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह, अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह। hayya alas-salah, hayya alas-salah, hayya alal-falah, hayya alal-falah. Allahu akbar, Allahu akbar, la ilaha illallah.
अशहदु अल्ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह वहदहु ला शरीका लहु व अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदन अब्दुहु व रसूलुहु। अम्मा बअदु, अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। My first reading is chapter 2, Al-Baqarah, verse 31. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا ثُمَّ عَرَضَهُمْ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ فَقَالَ أَنبِئُونِي بِأَسْمَاءِ هَؤُلَاءِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. And Allah taught Adam all the names, then presented them to the angels, and then said, Tell me the names of those if you are right. Next reading is from chapter 55, verse 33. يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان. O assembly of jinn and people, if you are able to pass through the regions of the heavens and the earth, then pass through. But you cannot pass through but with authority. Meaning that laws of Allah are the same wherever you are. Whether you are on this earth or in the depths of sea or up on the moon, Allah's laws will remain the same. And in this way, and this applies to astronomy and physics and chemistry, but it also means social laws. That is how people live together. That is the laws which, if we follow, you will be successful as individuals, as nations, regardless of whether you're a Muslim or a Christian or a Hindu or whatever. If you follow God's social laws, you will be successful. If you don't follow God's social laws, then you'll be unsuccessful. You cannot say that a Muslim who can't swim, if he falls into the river, will not drown and die. He will die just the same as any other, a man or woman of any other religion who cannot swim. It's as simple as that. You cannot get away from God's laws just because you pay lip service to some creed. And in that case, I want to share 4 or 5 news with you about what happened in the Western world in the last week and what's happened in the Islamic world. In the Western world, and I quote the first one from Washington Post, which says, astronomers have identified what could be the brightest, the most luminous object in the universe, a quasar that emits light 500 trillion times more intense than the light of our sun. Quasars are dazzling whirlpools of fast-moving, ultra-hot gas produced by giant black holes. And this particular quasar is driven by the fastest growing black hole known to humans, one that is devouring the equivalent of 1 sun per day, according to the European Southern Observatory. What's more, this remarkable object was hiding in plain sight for several decades before it was discovered, the observatory said, adding that it was so bright it was initially classified as a star not too far from Earth. In fact, the quasar called J0529-4351 is so far away, its light took 12 billion years to reach us. So Western astronomers have seen something 12 billion years away. And it has a mass 17 billion times that of the sun. Quasars are still rare objects. So anytime we find one, they are like gemstones in a lot of dirt that we have been turning over. Christian Wolff, a professor at Australian National University, said, and lead author of the study, which was published in Nature Astronomy on Monday, said, the study of quasars is important because most large galaxies contain a massive black hole at their center, and they have affected the development of their host galaxies. Wolf wrote, adding that such research would be able to further our understanding of the expansion of the universe in the future. We are studying God's creation. So the Western world is studying God's creation and how it affects and impacts upon us. Another example is this is in the heavens. What is the Western world doing to the deepest depths of seas? For years, they've been researching whales. We all know whales make a particular sound. The question was how? So scientists studied them for years and years and years. And then last week they announced they found how and why the whales make that noise. It's amazing. You see, the Holy Quran says, when Solomon's army was coming, ants said to each other, let's get out of the way. And you know who did research on whether ants talk or not? Was it Shias? Was it Muslims? Was it Wahhabis? Was it Salafis? Was it Barelvis? No, Christians and Jews. And they proved that ants actually do really talk to each other. At first, it was thought it was only by using some chemical that they secreted and left behind. But later on, it turned out that ants even emit sounds that only other ants can understand. But then there has been research in stem cell use of stem cells. Stem cells are cells, but they have this amazing ability that if you inject them into skin, they will become human skin. If you inject them into bone, they will become bone. If you inject them into heart, they will take the form of a heart cell. If you inject them into kidneys, they will take the form of kidneys. So what are scientists doing? They're doing this research into use of stem cells to cure human diseases. How can we inject a stem cell into a human heart, which is ailing, so that this healthy stem cell takes the place of sick cells and replaces them and makes the heart healthy? They're doing research into how this can be done in kidneys. What's the reason? The reason is to avoid transplants. So you don't have to cut open someone's chest, take his heart out, and put another heart in. So you don't have to cut open someone's belly and take an infected kidney out and replace it with another kidney. You can inject stem cells into whatever the ailing organ is, and the stem cell will take the form of a healthy, or create a healthy organ by doing that. And today we had two announcements. A company in California announced robotic limbs. These are for people who are either born without arms, legs, or who lose them in an accident of some kind. And you know, in the days of old, they used to take wooden stumps and make a leg out of them, which was very heavy, but then technology improved. It was all done by the Western people, Christians and Jews, that we scoff at so much. And then lighter materials came along and so on. And this morning, this company announced that using artificial intelligence, they're developing robotic arms that can sense a person's thinking. So they place some electrodes on where the last part of the missing limb, and they connect it to a computer. And then the man thinks, lift your arm, and the arm goes up. It says, open your hand, and the hand opens. And it says, close the hand around this cup. This is all being done on the computer. Just by thought, by the electrical impulses that are produced in the brain and transmitted to the missing limb or the end of it. And these electrodes pick up those electrical impulses and translate them back into instructions. And then they go and manufacture a robotic arm which is suitable for that, or leg, which is suitable for that particular person. And when you put that arm on or you put that leg on, the person doesn't have to lift his arm up with the other arm. He just thinks, raise your arm, and the arm goes up. And taking this further, they've announced that more and more of this sort of technique is being used in surgery as well, where the surgeon, after cutting open someone's, whichever part he's operating on, and looking into it directly, he sits behind a camera, a robotic camera, with arms linked to it. And what he sees is a hugely magnified image of where the operation is to take place, and then operates. And then this morning, a private company announced that it has managed to land space vehicle on the moon to do research into how to use the ice that is available on the moon, so that when a colony is established on the moon, it can use that ice to create water and also to grow foods, vegetables and fruits, and provide that lunar colony with power, with electricity and so on. So this is a quick summary run through of what's happened in the Western world. So what's happened in the so-called Muslim world or the Islamic world? Anything? Any news? Any world-shattering discoveries? The news we have from the so-called Muslim majority world is, number one, people in Gaza are dying of starvation. Babies are dying in incubators because Zionists have turned off electricity and so on. They're also dying of hunger, apart from disease. And they're dying because they're being bombed, and the Muslim world is helpless to support them. Forget about the future. Forget about looking at the future and inventing new devices like the West is doing for the future. What we're doing is we are begging the Western world for help, saying the whole of the Muslim world cannot deal with one Zionist country. Can you people in the West who created this country, can you help save our people? Weeks after elections in Pakistan, the leaders, religious and political, are wrangling over who's going to be the president and who's going to be the prime minister and who's going to be in the cabinet, while the country accelerates into economic Armageddon, into economic destruction. And the most amazing news is that the Chief Justice of Pakistan, and you see leaders, religious and political, always complain that courts in Pakistan give decisions under some kind of pressure. But this Chief Justice, I forget his name now, Isa something, he gave a decision. A Qadiani had been arrested for disseminating the literature of his Jamaat. And can you imagine an application to bail him, which would have been done in a magistrate's court in the UK, or at most at the lowest level in Crown Court? That application made its way, taking years, to the Supreme Court. And the Chief Justice decided that the Constitution of Pakistan guarantees all its citizens the right to profess and to practice and to propagate whatever religion they choose. And he freed that Qadiani from jail, and he said it was wrong to arrest him. And the achievement of the nuclear-powered Pakistan has been that particularly all the religious leaders have been scurrying to the television and video and YouTube and so on, saying this Chief Justice should be banned. It should be sacked because this is banned, because this decision is against the Constitution of Pakistan. Obviously, the number one Chief Justice of Pakistan doesn't understand what the Constitution says, but these Maulanas who never saw the inside of a law college or university, they know much better what the Constitution of Pakistan says. But then, my question is this. You always complain about pressure on the justices of the High Court, High and Supreme Court in Pakistan to take certain decisions. What are you doing? Maulanas, what are you doing? You don't like one of his decisions, and aren't you putting pressure on him? Aren't you asking the government to sack him because he's taken this decision? This is a justice's job. This is why they call justices. On the one hand, you complain that judges make decisions under duress, and then a justice who makes an independent decision, you're putting him under duress to take a wrong decision or take a decision in line with what you think is the right thing to do. So compare this. And the other interesting thing is that all these Maulanas making videos, appearing on television, having their pictures printed in newspapers, are the ones who say photography is haram. It's unlawful to take a photograph. Well, a video is just a collection of very fast moving photographs. It's nothing else. You might remember that in the days of old, you used to be able to buy books. And if you flick the pages quickly, you'll see a batsman batting or a bowler bowling, because each page had a photograph of the person in a slightly different position. And if you flicked it quickly, it would look like a bowler bowling or a batsman batting. Now, when our energies are being spent on these useless pursuits, do you think we'd be making any progress? And we sit around and we wonder, why are we behind all other nations? The same thing happened during the British Raj in India. Muslim Maulanas forbade Muslims from learning English or or Western sciences. It was okay to read Greek philosophy, that was perfectly Islamic. But to read Newtonian physics was haram. So what happened? Other communities, they learned English, they learned modern subjects, they got jobs in universities and colleges and the bureaucracy and army and so on. And then we sat around, started crying, discrimination, discrimination, we don't get jobs and so on. Aren't we doing the same thing in the West now? Why don't we take the lead in anything in any country? And if we don't, then this is what will happen. The promised Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib, he appeared in India. He told Muslims to drag themselves into the new age and stop learning from Dars-e-Nizami and madrasas and so on, and learn English and Western languages and learn science and go to school and go to college. He set up a school which later became a college in Qadian, which started at Fajr time. And he said, today's jihad is through the media. He himself used newspapers. His pictures and articles appeared in United States in, I think, 1890s, defending Islam. He used photography, he used sound recording, everything to further the cause of Islam and so on. And he asked Muslims in general to do it as well. You didn't have to become an Ahmadi. You could see what he was doing. If he was writing to a newspaper in America, you could do the same thing. What was stopping you? And Muslims ignored him. And 150 years later, the results are obvious. And yet, we are not doing anything to change ourselves. This is what God said. He taught Adam the names. This is do research and find out about the world and the universe. And spread that knowledge. And again, the other one, O assembly of jinn and men, you can go to the furthest depths of heavens and study. You can do it. But you will find that Allah's laws will not change. By not doing that, we are violating the Holy Quran. And this is why we are in this deplorable and sad position, that is, especially in the West. And yet, our religious leaders, our political leaders, they just make nice sounds, but do nothing practical to alleviate the position of the Muslims. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quranil Azim wa nafana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun karimun malikun barrufur rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah, qad qamatis salah, qad qamatis salah. Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. الله سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أستغفر الله أستغفر الله أستغفر الله أستغفر الله ربي من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه. Thank you for joining us for our Friday service. We hope to see you next week. In the meantime, please pray for the whole humanity, that God may make us all see sense that we inhabit this small planet, and if we destroy it and each other, we'll have nowhere to go. And pray for the poor Palestinians, that Allah may protect them. He is more powerful than any Zionist army. But if we forsake him and don't turn to him, then he will do the same. And do whatever you can to help the Palestinians. Even if you can give 10 pence, maybe that will buy a medicine that will save a baby's life, or give him food. With the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep all of you safe and sound and free from harm, regardless of your religion, sect, color, or creed. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, goodbye.